You've been told that power corrupts. I tell you the truth power reveals. What you truly are, what you are willing to do, and what you dare to become. All surface the moment morality becomes optional. Today, I will not teach you how to be good. I will teach you how to be untouchable. In every age, men speak of virtue, yet kneel before those who possess strength. The masses worship morality in daylight, but envy domination in silence. Those who hesitate to act beyond ethics are devoured by those who do. In this lesson, I strip away the mask of righteousness and reveal the anatomy of absolute power, the dark art of bending human nature to your command. You may find this knowledge immoral, but understand, power is neither moral nor immoral. It is simply taken. You admire the virtuous man, the one who speaks softly, promises kindness, and swears by his integrity. But tell me, when has virtue alone ever ruled the world? The truth is this: morality is a costume, a well-tailored disguise worn by those who understand that appearances, not intentions, govern men's faith. The virtuous image is not the path to power. It is the camouflage that allows one to seize it unseen. Look back through history. Julius Caesar spoke of restoring the republic even as he dismantled it. He played the role of savior, not usurper. The senators who trusted his noble intentions found their power eroded not by tyranny, but by his charm, his public generosity, his theater of virtue. By the time they saw the truth, the republic was already his. That is the illusion of virtue. Most people believe power belongs to the righteous. They want to believe that the good rise naturally to the top. It comforts them. It makes the world seem fair. But fairness is a story told to keep the weak obedient. And those who write the story understand this perfectly. To dominate perception is to dominate reality. You need not be good. You only need to appear so convincingly that no one dares question what lies beneath. The masses crave symbols of goodness. Words like honor, justice, peace. Feed them those words, and you may do whatever you wish behind the curtain. Every leader who endures masters this theater. They smile in daylight, plot in darkness. They speak of sacrifice and service while calculating advantage. This duality is not hypocrisy. It is strategy. Ask yourself, would you rather be known as good or be the one who decides what good means? A ruler must understand psychology as deeply as he understands warfare. Men do not see truth. They see reflections of their desires. Give them an image to worship, and they will defend it with blind loyalty, even against evidence. That is why propaganda thrives. That is why the moral facade is indispensable. In Florence, I once observed a preacher named Savonarola. He called for purity, for virtue, for a godly city free of corruption. The people adored him. They burned books, destroyed art, and knelt in tears at his sermons. He believed in his own righteousness. Believed he could reform human nature. But righteousness without force is fragile. The moment his spell broke, the same people who had praised his holiness hung him from the gallows. That is the fate of those who mistake virtue for power. The wise learn from such ruin. They realize that goodness, when brandished too openly, invites predators. A saint surrounded by wolves will not survive long, but a wolf wearing the robe of a saint. He will reign until his teeth grow dull. So if you seek to rise, master perception first. Let your words be wrapped in morality, even when your intentions are carved from cold ambition. Let your enemies accuse you of deception. The masses will call them bitter, jealous, evil. For people do not defend truth, they defend comfort. This is the dark symmetry of human nature. The same instincts that make men love the virtuous also blind them to manipulation. They crave leaders who look clean. They never inspect the hands behind the curtain. A clever ruler uses this blindness as armor. Even in modern life, the same law applies. The CEO who speaks of company culture while cutting throats behind closed doors. The politician who smiles for the camera, shaking hands with those he intends to betray. The influencer who preaches authenticity while crafting every pixel of deceit. All thrive because they grasp one truth: image conquers substance. You may despise such hypocrisy, but notice that it works. And in the theater of power, what works is what survives. Understand, then, that morality must serve you, not rule you. Use it as a mask, not a master. You need not destroy virtue. Merely control its illusion. Let others drown in their sincerity while you swim beneath the surface, unseen, directing the current. Because the world does not reward purity, it rewards performance. The virtuous man dies admired. The strategic man dies remembered. So the question is no longer, will you be good? The question is, can you appear good while doing what must be done? Remember this, the illusion of virtue is not the opposite of morality. It is the weaponization of it, and in the next lesson, we'll uncover how to bind others to your will, not through loyalty, but through dependency. Power does not come from admiration. It comes from necessity. The one who depends on you will protect you, serve you, and even betray their own principles to preserve what you provide. This is the most efficient form of control, not through love, not through fear alone, but through need. Ask yourself, how many people in your life could truly stand without you? And more importantly, how many do you allow to? Dependency is the invisible chain that binds empires, families, and entire civilizations. It is quieter than conquest, yet far more permanent. You can win a man's loyalty for a day with fear, but if his survival depends on you, his loyalty lasts until death. Consider the nobles of old. Kings did not keep their power merely through armies. They kept it by ensuring every noble's wealth and safety flowed from the throne. Each man's fortune, his lands, his privileges, granted by royal favor. They might whisper of rebellion, but never act upon it, for to lose the king's grace was to lose life itself. That is dependency disguised as loyalty. Modern rulers have learned the same lesson. Governments, corporations, even relationships, all are crafted around this principle. When a man's comfort, career, or identity depends on the system that feeds him, he will fight to preserve it, even when it enslaves him. Dependency turns slaves into believers. Think of it. The employee who hates his boss yet defends the company when outsiders criticize it. The citizen who curses the government, yet panics at the thought of its collapse. The lover who suffers humiliation, yet cannot leave the one who provides emotional or financial stability. All of them are trapped, not by chains, but by their own fears of losing security. Dependency is the gentlest form of domination. It allows the ruler to appear benevolent while ensuring obedience. You give enough to keep them grateful, but never enough to make them independent. This is how kingdoms endure. This is how manipulative partners maintain control. This is how ideologies survive generations. To rule effectively, one must learn to balance the equation give enough to bind with hold enough to control. History offers perfect examples. The Medici family of Florence, masters of subtle power, understood this art flawlessly. They lent money to the city, funded churches, patronized artists, and financed wars. Florence believed the Medici were saviors. In truth, they were creditors of the soul. The city's beauty, wealth, and stability, all owed to them. Who would dare oppose the hand that fed their every dream? Dependency does not always appear cruel. Often it wears the smile of generosity. A gift, a favor, a helping hand. Each act creates a silent debt. And the wise never let the debt go unpaid. You must learn to make others need you, not through domination, but through utility. Be indispensable. Be the source of something others cannot easily replace: knowledge, protection, opportunity, approval. Once they see you as the pillar of their success, they will not question your motives. They will protect your interests as their own. Ask yourself, do you seek to be liked or to be needed? The one who is liked can be replaced. The one who is needed cannot. But beware, the art of dependency is a double-edged sword. The moment you depend too much on others, you surrender your advantage. True power demands asymmetry. You must make others rely on you more than you rely on them. If dependence becomes mutual, the balance collapses. A ruler must always preserve options. Keep many servants, many allies, many tools. Let each believe they are essential, while you quietly ensure that none truly are. Rotate your sources of support so no single one grows powerful enough to threaten you. A web of dependencies, all leading back to you. This is the architecture of control. Psychologically, dependency rewires the human mind. When people attach their sense of safety or worth to someone else, they rationalize every cruelty to protect that bond. They will excuse lies, endure humiliation, and call it loyalty. They confuse gratitude with devotion, weakness with love, and the one who understands this commands their hearts without lifting a sword. So, when you give strategically. Let your generosity tighten your grip, not loosen it. When you offer help, ensure it binds the receiver. Let every favor become a quiet reminder of your power. Because in truth, most people don't want freedom. Freedom terrifies them. They prefer comfort, stability, and someone to depend on. Offer them that, and you own them. Power is not about standing above others. It's about ensuring they cannot stand without you. That is the silent art of domination. And in the next lesson, we'll explore the emotion that enforces this control most effectively. Not love, but fear. There is a truth most men refuse to admit. Fear commands faster than love ever could. Love requires constant maintenance, endless gestures, and fragile trust. Fear needs only one unforgettable lesson. Ask yourself, would you rather be loved for what you give, or obeyed for what you can take away? Love invites mercy, fear ensures discipline. And in the pursuit of power, discipline always wins. When a ruler governs through affection, he binds his fate to emotion. When he governs through fear, he binds others to survival. Emotion wavers, survival does not. Let us look to history. Caesar Borgia ruled with elegance and blood. When he conquered the unruly Romagna, the land was drowning in chaos, thieves, corrupt nobles, rebellion. He sent Ramiro de Orco, a cruel but effective man, to bring order. Ramiro used terror like a craftsman uses a blade. Within months, the streets were silent, and when the people began to fear Ramiro more than they loved Caesar, the Duke had him executed in public. One man's death purchased the illusion of mercy, and the people's fear transformed into gratitude. That is mastery, using terror, then disguising it as justice. Fear is not brutality. It is precision. It is the ability to make men think twice before crossing you. To control behavior without constant effort. But there is an art to it. Uncontrolled fear breeds rebellion. Strategic fear breeds obedience. Think of a lion. It doesn't roar constantly, it waits. When it moves, the entire jungle listens. You must be the same. Do not threaten, do not rage. Simply be capable of danger and let that silent knowledge govern others. The most powerful kind of fear is anticipatory. The fear of what you might do, not what you have done. Predictability kills authority. A ruler who is too gentle loses respect. A ruler who is too cruel loses control. But the one who is unpredictable, he becomes untouchable. In human psychology, fear imprints memory more deeply than affection. A single moment of terror shapes obedience for years. Parents, teachers, leaders, all instinctively know this. When used sparingly, fear conditions loyalty through caution. It replaces argument with instinct. You've felt it before. The boss who doesn't need to shout, yet every word carries weight. The leader whose silence feels heavier than anger. That tension, that uncertainty is power. Fear is not about cruelty, it's about leverage. It's the psychological currency of authority. Even in personal relationships, it plays its role. When people know you can walk away, that your approval can vanish, they behave differently. They try harder. They submit quietly. They caught its root. It is fear of loss, and the one who controls what others fear to lose controls them entirely. But remember, fear must always serve purpose, not ego. When fear becomes indulgence, tyranny decays. History is filled with rulers who confused cruelty for control. Nero, Caligula, Robespierre. They fed on terror until it devoured them. Their mistake. They ruled through chaos, not calculation. They forgot that the goal of fear is not destruction, it is stability. The skilled manipulator uses fear as a sculptor uses marble. Each strike deliberate, each crack meaningful. He punishes rarely, but visibly. He rewards unpredictably to keep men guessing. And above all, he ensures that fear never turns to hatred. Hatred unites enemies. Fear isolates them. You must also learn to wield personal absence as a weapon. Withdraw your attention, your approval, your warmth. Watch how quickly people panic. In that panic, you will see the truth, who depends on you, who respects you, and who merely tolerates you. Every relationship, professional, political, romantic, rests upon invisible lines of fear. Fear of being replaced, fear of losing status, fear of being forgotten. Recognize those lines, and you can pluck them like strings on an instrument. The question is not whether fear is ethical. Ethics are irrelevant to survival. The question is whether you can wield fear without becoming ruled by it yourself. For once fear enters your arsenal, it demands precision. You must strike, then retreat. Never let others see the satisfaction it gives you. Only let them feel the consequence of disobedience. A man who is loved may still be betrayed. A man who is feared is betrayed only once. And in the architecture of power, that difference determines who ascends and who is devoured. So cultivate presence that commands silence. Make kindness deliberate and anger meaningful. Let men think your wrath is possible, but not certain. In that uncertainty lies your dominion. Because fear, when wielded with intellect, is not a weapon of cruelty. It is the scaffolding upon which authority is built. And in the next lesson, we'll explore how to strike unseen, how ruthlessness, concealed behind mercy, becomes the sharpest instrument of rule. Every man wants to appear kind. Few dare to be ruthless, and fewer still master the art of hiding it. But understand this, the most dangerous form of ruthlessness is the one no one sees coming. Open cruelty invites enemies. Hidden ruthlessness creates legends. Ask yourself, which ruler endures longer? The one who swings the sword in daylight, or the one who smiles as others do it for him? A fool believes power lies in violence. The wise know it lies in control. The true predator kills not out of rage, but necessity, cleanly, silently, and with purpose. History remembers those who struck with precision, not passion. Consider Octavian, later Augustus, the first emperor of Rome. He spoke of peace while waging quiet war. He signed treaties with one hand and assassinated rivals with the other. The Senate called him merciful. His enemies called him divine. In truth, he was neither, only efficient. That is the essence of concealed ruthlessness, to destroy without appearing destructive, to dominate while wearing the mask of restraint. You see, mercy is a weapon. When displayed selectively, it disguises ambition. The moment you appear merciful, people stop defending themselves. They expose their weakness. And that is when you strike. Think of modern power. The corporate leader who, regretfully, fires half his company while smiling for the cameras. The politician who sympathizes with his opponents before burying their careers in scandal. The partner who forgives you, then uses your confession as leverage. These are not villains. They are strategists who understand that the knife hidden behind kindness cuts deepest. Never mistake visible cruelty for strength. It is clumsy, noisy, and short-lived. A tyrant who shows his teeth too often provokes rebellion. A ruler who cloaks his fangs in silk earns eternal obedience. The human mind is easily deceived by tone. People will forgive an act of cruelty if it is spoken with the language of virtue. Say you act for their own good. Say it is for peace. Say it pains you to do this. And they will weep for you as you destroy them. You must understand this psychological law. Men judge actions not by outcomes, but by appearances. If your ruthlessness looks reluctant, they will call it leadership. If it looks joyful, they will call it evil. So make your cruelty graceful. Make it necessary. Make it quiet. Let others do your bidding while your hands remain clean. A single loyal servant can perform deeds that your reputation cannot survive. And when the act is done, remove the servant too, as Cesar Borgia did to Ramiro de Orco. He used one man to enforce terror, then executed him publicly to appear merciful. Thus, the Duke became both feared and loved, without contradiction. Do you see the pattern? Ruthlessness must be timed like a blade drawn in darkness, only once, and only when decisive. Hesitation invites suspicion. Excess invites revolt. But a single, swift act, concealed by diplomacy, grants peace for years. Even in daily life, this art applies. When you end a relationship, do not argue endlessly. Withdraw silently. When you remove a rival, do not humiliate them, promote them away. When you must punish, do it once and thoroughly, so none ever question your resolve again. To rule emotion is to rule perception. The paradox of concealed ruthlessness is this: the more restraint you show outwardly, the more people underestimate your capacity for harm. And the underestimated always win. Remember, the greatest rulers were not loud. They were calm. They smiled while others trembled. Their words carried gentleness, but their will carried iron. You must learn to be two beings at once, the saint and the serpent. Show compassion to calm suspicion. Hide venom behind the warmth of your voice, and when your moment comes, strike so precisely that none can trace the blow. For ruthlessness is not the absence of emotion. It is mastery over it. It is knowing when to suppress pity, when to delay revenge, and when to erase an obstacle so completely that it cannot return. This is the arithmetic of power. A few cold actions prevent 1,000 future threats. You may be tempted to act from anger. Don't. Anger reveals intention. Let your wrath ripen into calculation. Those who act in fury lose control. Those who act in silence become unstoppable. So practice stillness. Learn to smile while planning destruction. And let every move appear reluctant, inevitable, almost tragic. People forgive necessity. They never forgive pleasure. The world fears the tyrant who laughs, but it obeys the ruler who kills with tears in his eyes. And in the next lesson, you'll confront the final transformation. When conscience dies and nothing remains but clarity, there comes a moment in every rise to power when the greatest enemy is not outside you, but within. It whispers in hesitation, disguises itself as morality, and poisons decisive thought with guilt. That voice is conscience, the chain forged by those who benefit from your obedience. Ask yourself, how many victories have you surrendered to the fear of doing wrong? How many opportunities have you buried under the illusion of goodness? Conscience is not born from truth. It is taught by the weak to control the strong. From childhood, you are trained to feel guilt for wanting more, shame for desiring power, and fear for breaking convention. The result: a society full of tamed predators apologizing for their own hunger. But history was never written by the apologetic. It was written by those who silenced the inner judge long enough to act. Consider the rise of power in every empire. Caesar crossed the Rubicon not because it was right, but because hesitation would have ended him. He gambled everything on ambition and won immortality. Would the world remember him if he had obeyed his conscience? No. He would have died a loyal servant, forgotten like every moral man who chose obedience over dominance. The truth is cruel, but undeniable. Conscience serves society, not the individual. It exists to preserve order, not greatness. It keeps the masses predictable, controllable, and harmless. But for the one who seeks to rise above men, conscience is a luxury he cannot afford. You see, conscience tricks you into feeling guilt for the very instincts that ensure survival. It calls your ambition greed, your caution paranoia, your dominance cruelty. And in believing it, you weaken yourself before the world does. A ruler who hesitates out of guilt loses control to those who do not, because power respects only one rule: effectiveness. The outcome justifies the act. Intentions justify nothing. Do you think the lion pities the gazelle? Do you believe the storm apologizes for the ship it sinks? Nature does not negotiate with morality. It acts, and the strong endure. And yet, humans believe they can defy this law through ethics. But what is morality? Truly, a story. A convenient fiction created to restrain the powerful under the illusion of virtue. Every civilization invents its version of right and wrong to protect the many from the few. But the few, those who rule, always know when to step outside it. Do not misunderstand me. This is not an invitation to cruelty. It is a call to clarity, to see moral laws not as absolute truths, but as instruments, to use them when they serve you and discard them when they do not, because true freedom begins when you stop needing to be good. Only then can you act with precision instead of hesitation. Look at the modern world, the politician who smiles while lying to millions, the general who sends thousands to die, believing it necessary for peace, The CEO who preaches ethics while exploiting human weakness for profit. All of them have learned the same lesson. The conscience must die for the mission to live. And yet, they wear virtue like armor. Because the wise understand, you do not destroy conscience publicly. You bury it privately, then use its shadow to appear noble. The crowd must see a saint. Only you must know the truth. Even I once wrote, "It is better to be feared than loved." But in truth, it is best to be both. Feared for what you can do, loved for the image of why you do it. That illusion keeps power pure. Ask yourself, what is conscience but the echo of other people's expectations? Would you still call an act wrong if no one ever knew? Would you still hesitate if the world could not judge you? That hesitation reveals the depth of your conditioning. Power begins where that hesitation ends. Because the moment you silence that voice, you stop asking what is or load, and start deciding what is possible. Every great transformation demands a kind of inner execution, the killing of that timid voice that asks for permission. When conscience dies, clarity is born. You see not what should be, but what is. And only then can you shape it. So the next time conscience whispers, do not argue with it. Thank it for its service. Then dismiss it like a servant whose usefulness has ended, because history does not remember the man who hesitated to act rightly. It remembers the one who acted effectively. And in the next lesson, you'll see what rises from the ashes of conscience. Not a monster, but a god of his own making. Control is never loud. It whispers, it hides behind kindness, generosity, and reason. The greatest rulers do not chain men with force. They bind them with invisible strings of desire, fear, and dependency. To control people without them knowing, you give them freedom in appearance, while shaping the choices they believe are theirs. You let them speak, but decide what they talk about. You let them dream, but supply the meaning of their dreams. Power is not in domination, it's in direction. When people move by your design yet think it's their will, you have achieved mastery. Ask yourself, are you guiding the world or being guided by it? Are you the player or the piece? If this lesson has sharpened your perception of power, leave your thoughts below. Tell me, how far would you go to control without being seen? Subscribe for more Machiavellian strategies of influence, psychology, and control. And share this video so others may believe they're learning wisdom while you learn power.